Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you both for being here. One of the things I'm kind of in tune with is property values here in our state, and I do appreciate the fact that my property taxes are going down a little bit, but obviously property values have kind of affected us all and for our municipalities. A couple questions I may have is, what do you feel is currently working with Proposal A? And what would you think would be a possibility of solving that issue, both for us as taxpayers and for our government municipalities that need that money to provide its services?
Thanks, Rick. Well, I'm deeply concerned about the drop in value of our homes. Of course, it's affecting individuals. It's affecting local government. It affects the economy because people can't have a hard time being mobile. They have a hard time going to answer to apply for a new job. Sometimes when they do that out of state, they end up abandoning their house, and it results in further problems to our property value, to our base. There isn't a neighborhood in the state that doesn't have a home, a foreclosed property or an abandoned property, and it's tied to the property tax system. I think we've got to look at the reliance on property tax again. I think we've got to relook at Proposal A. It's been there for, 15 or 20 years. It's affecting our schools. It's impacting our schools. It's impacting local government. And I really believe we've got to get I hate to say the word blue ribbon commission because Rick will accuse me of being a typical politician, but I believe we've got to get, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Rick, by any means.
No, that was free one.
But I really believe we've got to take a relook at the whole property tax system and how property taxes and how it relates to the others to reduce some of that burden. I also believe something we've got to do right away that I've talked about already is we need a foreclosure moratorium, because that is really putting salt in the wound, making it that much more difficult as it reduces property values and hurts local governments as well as individuals.
Yeah, the property tax issue is a big one, and there are many pieces to it. Proposal A, I wouldn't mess with, to be blunt. It was a huge reduction. But to put it in perspective, there are a lot of people suffering, and I know in this area, because I come back to Dearborn, I got a lot of family there, and you can see whole blocks with how many for sale signs. That's a problem. And if you talk about municipal finance, one of the things I'm calling for, and this will show you I'm an old accountant, because this will sound really boring, but I think it's really important. One of the first things I'm calling for is a real balance sheet. A real balance sheet that's in English. That's easy to understand, that you can hand to anyone with charts and graphs that takes the footnote stuff, that off-balance sheet stuff. I'm going to do it for the state, and I'm going to ask that it be done for every jurisdiction in our state. Because what we don't see coming is the worst of this is not here today. The worst of this is coming in 3 or 4 years. And you're going to find many municipalities, hundreds of municipalities, that are liable to be insolvent. And one of the key issues, one of the things that drove me to run for governor, because I have done the math analysis, is I want to get there proactively instead of reactively to say, how do we look at restructuring our system for the long term? Again, looking out in the future, not more Band-Aids of, here's a 1-year fix or a fix until someone's term's up, but a structural fix for the long term to say, how can we look out in the future? And we're going to need to look at things like service consolidation, not legal consolidation, but service consolidation, where we ask jurisdictions to work together cooperatively, and it works really well in some spots, because we can't afford the system we have today. And the focus is how do we get better frontline services with less bureaucracy and overhead? Because my focus is frontline services, great customer service. So let's focus on that. Let's get out as much overhead as possible, and let's have smaller, more efficient government.
How you doing, Rick?
We got a tech guy here.
Yes.
He's got his iPad.
Yes, I'm all set. So I have a question for you. You talked earlier focusing on young talent. So for young professional college students, what can we do at the state level that will enable companies to become more competitive in retaining talent here as the workplace becomes more and more digital?
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 pieces to that. In terms of both the question of what we need to focus on is, one, the first thing I'll tell you on economic development. Let's do less hunting and more gardening. We need to stop saying the key to Michigan's comeback is not attracting a few out-of-state companies with huge incentive packages. The key to Michigan's comeback is creating an environment where Michiganders are creating and growing small businesses. And we've got great programs to do that. I helped found Ann Arbor Spark. I was their founding chair. We've been doing that in Ann Arbor. Techtown, Wisdom U, there's all these kind of programs there, but we need to coordinate them because we need to help people that have been in larger organizations to recalibrate about what culturally it takes to do a startup and help people succeed. And that's how we create a great environment for young people. Because you do need to leverage technology to make those things happen. And on young people and specifically, what I'll tell you, there are 2 or 3 barriers. The first barrier that we have today, if you're a young person, and I just had a son graduate from college. He's out looking for a job. Fortunately, I got him working on a campaign right now, but we need to get going here, is the more and better jobs question. That applies to everyone. The second thing we need to do is a quality of place issue. Before we had the jobs issue, we were still losing our young people at an alarming rate. We just didn't recognize it as much. One of the Detroit papers did a study that showed there are 70,000 MSU, U of M alumni in Chicago.
Yep.
What would our economy be like today if those 70,000 young people were in Michigan? So that's one of the reasons, not only to help the people in the city of Detroit, but why Detroit is so critical. And there's a group there already called Declare Detroit or Detroit Declaration that are young professionals committed to being in Detroit that we should be celebrating their success, asking them how we get rid of barriers to them to keep growing their group, to create that fire and passion. And the last thing I'll tell you this isn't about just spending money. There's so many things about people just helping people. I got out of school in 1982. How many people remember 1982 in Detroit? Yeah. No, that's not a clapper. To put it in perspective, the Houston Post was being brought up by the semi-loads to be sold on Sunday for the want ads to take jobs in Texas. I turned down a job in Houston and came to work in Detroit. And the people that finally got me over the edge is people said they would be my mentor. I took a job here that paid 30% less than the job in Texas because I love the state, and these people said they would be my mentor. We need to create mentorship programs in our state. If I ask how many people here would be willing to mentor someone, how many people would mentor somebody? It's huge. How many people are actually mentoring people in a program today? It's a fraction of that. So let's get programs of people helping people.
I think the number one thing to get those type of companies to stay in Michigan, to grow in Michigan, is access to capital. Right now, that's the biggest obstacle, and we see that. I've got a plan to address that. The brain drain is real. We know that, and I'm proud that Lansing was named one of the top 10 cities for young people to locate in by Kiplinger's. That matters. The quality of life in a community, what we offer, the amenities we offer to young people, that matters. We've been able to put some of those winning elements together in the city of Lansing. We need to do that in more of our cities in Michigan. But I just say it's not. We need to support our universities. The economic gardening, Rick's absolutely right, and I'm proud to have helped start LEAP in Lansing, the Lansing Economic Area Partnership, which is public and private partnership working together with the university. We pay for these universities, and there's great things happening at them. There's great things percolating in our universities. Some of the next big inventions are percolating in our universities. We need to make sure, a governor needs to make sure, that those great ideas, when they're ready to go from the market from the lab to the market, that they're commercialized, capitalized in Michigan, that the jobs land in Michigan, that the products are made in Michigan, that they don't go to another state or go overseas. So it's very important that we're paying attention. I agree with the economic gardening, and that's how we got Symmetry Medical to locate in Lansing, because we were paying attention to them. Otherwise, they would have gone to Indiana. So I've got a lot of experience in actually doing it, and we can do it in the state of Michigan.
I am a community college trustee for the largest community college in the state of Michigan, WCCD. And of course, we've got 70,000 plus students right now, with more to come because they see the benefit of a community college. And I'm glad to hear that you did go and take advantage of that when you were in high school, which a lot of our students do now. But we're always having a problem, as the rest of the universities do, and everybody, businesses and everything, with property taxes. We have people coming in, and our average age is 29, so it's different than some of the universities. But we need more funding, of course, for our community college. And I'm wondering how you feel about that when you get to Lansing, either one of you, how you feel about the funding and the importance of the community college.
Thank you. Well, I believe in the community college system very much. We have a great one as well, Lansing Community College. And Lansing Community College recently did an interesting thing. They made national headlines with their money-back guarantee. You might have heard something about that. So students today are looking for, if not demanding, really more value. And I think sometimes those community college kids, especially, like you say, they're more non-traditional. They're often paying the whole freight themselves, not having their parents necessarily foot the bill. They're often working as well as being a student, and they want real value they need real value for that dollar. And so, I would certainly be willing and interested in supporting, the most innovative community colleges. And I want to partner with them. I think that's an innovative thing they did in Lansing, giving, in a sense, more bang for the buck. And we need to support that. I think in general, the community colleges, do a good job of really squeezing every dollar, getting value for the dollar. And we need to demand that across state government. So would I like to give more money to community colleges? I would like to. Can I promise more money? I can't do that today. What I can say, I've balanced 5 budgets in a row in Lansing without raising taxes, and we're putting the money where it needs to be. Our citizens can't afford a tax increase right now. They just can't afford it. So we've made the tough decisions, and I led by example. I cut my pay, I doubled what I pay for health insurance, I gave up the city car. Sacrifice has to be from everybody. It can't just be from the workers. And so, we're going to have, I'm sure there's still some sacrifice to come in order for us to make the right priorities. But I will tell you, as I mentioned, my wife being a 20-year plus public educator, I believe in education. I believe in the community college system. I believe that's where we need to be investing. And I believe, and I'm sure Rick would agree, education is economic development. As much as we love economic development and we believe in it and we want it, we also understand education is economic development.
Yeah. No, education is critical, and the community colleges, as you can tell, I love the community college system because I think it's core. And in terms of efficiency, it's probably one of the most efficient elements of our entire educational system. So we need to look at that closely. I think there are ways to improve, not just with the community colleges, but how we connect people. Because one of the disconnects, there are some places that are doing it better, but there's many opportunities where we need to connect our economic development people with Michigan Works, with the community colleges, and create a real cycle about where jobs are and positions are, because too often people coming back to these programs really don't get enough information about the future of that career in terms of knowing what's the likelihood you're going to have a job. Because we should have a whole system out there that says, here are all the programs available. If you decide you're going into this, there's a 95% chance you're going to have a job. If you go into this field, there's a 5% chance. It's not to tell them they can choose the 5% one, but at least provide the data to say, here are the opportunity ranges and what you need to do. Now, on community colleges, one thing in particular, though, that I want to address that illustrates the failure of our education system today is because too much of the discussion is just on funding. In Lansing, all they do is talk about funding, and that's a flawed discussion in my model. We need to step back and ask, what do we need to do to educate each child every year in our educational system? And the illustration of how ironic that's become is if you go to a community college, how many remedial classes are you teaching for kids that actually have a high school diploma? And that's a travesty. You have people that got a diploma from a school that are now having to come to say they're taking a semester to 2 years of classes to be qualified to take an entry-level class. That's